What's up everyone, Alex here. Sword of Convallaria is shaping up to be one of the best tactical RPGs of 2024. This is a huge deal because Sword of Convallaria is also a free-to-play game. And as soon as you heard all of that, some of you have probably made up your minds about it. But for the rest of you who have heard that the gacha is separate from the single-player experience, I'm betting that you've got a ton of questions. I know this because I do too. So I not only compiled all of the questions you posted on my previous Sword of Convallaria video, the community tab, and Discord, but I also sent some questions to the devs themselves, who were nice enough to answer all of our questions. Keep in mind that while there are other modes in the game, I will be mostly focusing on the experience leading up to and after playing through one of the factions in the game's single-player campaign. And more importantly, if at any time during this video you decide you want to check out Sword of Convallaria, click on my link in the description or the pinned comment to download it to support my channel, because this video is sponsored by Sword of Convallaria. And don't forget to use the code SOCCREATOR to get rewards in the game. What's the story? Sword of Convallaria begins in the middle of an insurrection, where rioters are laying waste to a city in an attempt to overthrow the monarchy. Caught between the crossfire, you're able to escape thanks to the help of a band of mercenaries working in the shadows, and things go from bad to worse really quickly. What are the different gameplay modes in Sword of Convallaria? There are 3 gameplay modes. In the Fool's Journey, you'll be going through several missions and learn how the combat works, how it controls, and the basis of its story. And yes, this is where you'll see how the gacha side of the game works. Spiral of Destinies is Sword of Convallaria's single-player campaign, but that's not all. This game mode also features a calendar system that simulates your time with a mercenary group that freed you, effectively joining them as one of their members. And lastly, Crossing Worlds allows you to partake in battles daily and obtain materials that you can use to upgrade various weapons, armor, and accessories. The other 2 gameplay modes unlock as you progress further in the Fool's Journey. Give it to me straight. Is it gacha or a single-player RPG experience? It's both. If I just want to play the single-player story, do I have to engage with the gacha? You'll be asked to do a gacha pull as part of the tutorial in the Fool's Journey. The beginning of Sword of Convallaria is a bit linear, right up until you unlock Spiral of Destinies. That said, you can bring 3 gacha characters into Spiral of Destinies, though their levels, gear, and breakthroughs will be reset. You can reselect 3 characters to enter the game only when you end or restart a story. How does the calendar system work in Spiral of Destinies? Spiral of Destinies features a calendar system that simulates your time with a mercenary group that freed you, effectively joining them as one of their members. Though, if I'm being honest, you're doing so much more than just being a member, as you're dispatching units in deployment quests, training them, making gear for them, or just outright resting. You can exhaust them after all. These little details allow you to build up your army in fun ways, all the while experiencing the main story in such a way that's fun and lets you engage in its battles more. What's interesting about Spiral of Destinies is that the characters featured within have different stats when compared to elsewhere in the game. How does fatigue work in Spiral of Destinies? Each unit has their own stamina, and the more you use them in battle, the more stamina they'll use up. This reminds me of a similar mechanic in 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, and this was most likely built in to ensure that we don't just stick to one party composition for every single battle, forcing us to experiment with different classes and combinations. If you run out of units to send out, you can always go to the tavern and hire more units using gold coins or materials, and some may just require you to answer a question correctly. How long does it take to finish Spiral of Destinies? Spiral of Destinies is an ambitious branching storyline that has you making important decisions that'll alter the course of your story. This eventually asks you to align with one of 3 different factions, which leads to different story outcomes. As such, witnessing all of these branches will take upwards of about 100 hours to experience, and that's just what's available at launch. Will the stories in Spiral of Destinies be extended or updated? Yes! As mentioned, there are currently 8 factions in the game, 3 with playable storylines, and the developers estimate that a new storyline of another faction will be added in a month and a half. Additionally, the developers are working to further improve the writing in the game, and are very much open to feedback. Is it worth replaying through Spiral of Destinies? If you want to see how your choices alter the story and how the other factions fare in their own narratives, then I'd say absolutely. There's also the promise of new storylines being added post-launch as well. Are there any limits to playing Spiral of Destinies? Each chapter in Spiral of Destinies is locked behind a key of destiny, but I should add that each chapter is quite lengthy. You'll also be able to earn a maximum of 4 keys per week for free as part of logging into the game regularly. You can also exchange a resource called Hope Luxite for a key. Optionally, you can also buy keys with real money. Do you have to rely on gacha to win battles? To be clear, gacha only matters in modes outside of Spiral of Destinies, because it features its own units, separate from the rest of the game. That said, unlike other free-to-play tactical games, Sword of Convallaria's gameplay is rooted in traditional RPG design, meaning things like equipping your units with new weapons and armor, and spending points to alter the way that specific unit plays, for instance, are all very much in play here. All the gacha does is give you new units or weapons. While you have no control as to what kind of units you get, you're still able to level them up and give them gear like you would with any other RPG to offshore their weaknesses. And with regards to weapons, they have a lesser impact on gameplay than the units themselves. Does the game have paid upgrades that can give you an advantage in Spiral of Destinies? You cannot use real money to gain an advantage in Spiral of Destinies. Everything in this mode is governed by mechanics specifically designed to deliver a true single-player experience, which includes its own materials and currency to use on things like hiring new units. How is Sword of Convallaria's tactical gameplay? In addition to featuring a rock-paper-scissors style strength/weakness system, Sword of Convallaria's battles are round-based, meaning every single character and enemy will need to act once before the next round occurs. This also means that everyone's turn orders are determined at the start of battle, based on their agility stat. This is different from other RPGs you played because this turn order never changes, allowing you to plan your moves ahead in anticipation of a future turn. Rounds continue until the victory or defeat conditions have been met. To put it in another way, it's quite similar to Fire Emblem. Every character in Sword of Convallaria will have a basic attack and several special abilities depending on their class. You can use special abilities as long as you can spend the required points to do so, and these points increment at the start of every round. Some special abilities may be subject to cooldown, preventing you from using them repeatedly. This is important because one of Sword of Convallaria's distinctive features is your ability to use said skills to set up your enemy in ways that can help you win its battles handily. Do the maps feature environmental hazards? Yes, but they can also help you during combat. Wooden crates, for example, can create temporary platforms. Gunpowder barrels and boulders can be used to damage groups of enemies clumped together. In the Fool's Journey, since these maps are all based on flawed recollections of battlefields, it features pitfalls that you can push enemies off of. What's more is that these hazards can make battles relatively short, especially when compared to other tactical RPGs. You can finish a battle within 5 to 10 minutes tops, after which you'll be moving along with whatever mode you're playing in. Does it require a lot of grinding? One of the best things about tactical RPGs is its ability to reward crafty players by taking advantage of what's available on the battlefield, and Sword of Convallaria is no exception. You can use the terrain, abilities, and the previously mentioned hazards to outsmart your enemies and win battles despite having fewer resources. This is one of the reasons why I love tactical RPGs. You can overcome tremendous challenges just by playing smart. That said, winning battles will reward you with common experience, which you can use to level up any of your units. Does this game feature level caps like other free-to-play games? The only thing preventing your units from leveling up is your account level. Your units cannot level up past that. What ways can you customize your units? Your units can equip up to 5 different skills, as well as a weapon, a piece of armor, and an accessory. Each unit has a trait that you can enhance using materials, and every weapon, armor, or accessory can also be upgraded with other materials as well. To learn new skills, you'll need to rank up your unit using an item in-game, which alters the way that they play. How satisfying did the gameplay loop feel? It's really satisfying. One of my favorite things to do is to blow up exploding barrels to defeat multiple enemies in one fell swoop. I can do this by either hitting said barrel with a ranged attack or use a special ability to push it towards an enemy or vice versa. And anyone within a tile away from the barrel, even if it's one of your party members, will receive a ton of damage. And don't worry, if you accidentally kill one of your party members, you can always just turn back time. The calendar system in Spiral of Destinies really makes you think about how to use your time and which units you'll want to take during combat, which adds a layer of complexity that not a lot of modern tactical RPGs have. What do you think of its presentation, like the graphics, sound, and music? Sword of Convallaria combines beautiful 3D rendered environments with gorgeous 2D sprite work that just looks incredible. And this might sound like a weird mention, but the sound effects that they use during combat are impactful and make you feel good whenever you defeat your foes. Puncher's sound effects go a long way in making you feel a part of the action, and Sword of Convallaria nails it in that regard. The game's presentation is beautiful as well, as every menu item and every dialogue box is styled to further immerse you into its world. I'm a sucker for beautiful UI, and Sword of Convallaria has a lot of that. And lastly, the game doesn't have English voice acting, but it does contain Japanese, Korean, and Chinese voice acting. I chose Japanese, and the performances added a lot to the storytelling, which enhanced the feeling and emotion of every pivotal scene that I experienced. And I should point out that Hitoshi Sakimoto is composing for this game, and there are several songs I've heard that are giving me Final Fantasy Tactics and Ogre Battle vibes. Is it on or coming to consoles? There's no word of it coming to consoles yet, but it's available on PC, iOS, and Android. Ultimately, Sword of Convallaria is that rare free-to-play game that manages to have its cake and eat it too, providing us with a rich branching storyline that's only going to be updated in the future, and delivering on an engaging single-player experience for practically nothing. It helps that its developers are passionate about tactical RPGs, constantly listening to the community, and are genuinely curious about how they can craft a fantastic game that everyone can enjoy, regardless of whether or not we engage with its gacha. And you can experience one of the year's best tactical RPGs right now by clicking my link in the description or the pinned comment to download this amazing game. And remember to use the code SOCCREATOR to get your gift. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.